Okay, I'm currently about to go out, so pardon me if I'm all over the place. But basically, I just saw this comment from Roj Mohammed Zero. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And you are basically asking for like advice on how to be consistent. Like you spend so much time on your phone, you want to study, blah blah blah. The first thing I just want to start this video by saying is thank you. I know you might be surprised, but actually thank you, because I never thought somebody will actually ever find value from these videos. And another thing I just want to say is I'm also a normal person. Like, don't let all these videos fool you. Don't let this whole YouTube stuff fool you. I am just a normal guy, just like you. I am literally a normal person, and I'm not that consistent either. Like, I fall off a lot. In fact, if you look at, I know this will mess up my whole camera setup and stuff, but if you basically look at all these habit trackers and stuff I put here, look at most of them. They are just like X. Like, I'm basically failing them like a motherfucker. So I'm not the best person to take advice from, basically. But at least my little experience of there are some periods in my life that was very, very consistent and disciplined and everything, while the other periods, like this, that I basically just fell off. But in terms of being consistent, I can't remember the exact comments. Normally I have like another phone, I'll just be looking through to see what's yours, but all my phones are bad for now, so this is the only one that is. But I'll edit this video and just put the comments somewhere so that anybody watching can see it. But the first thing I'll tell you to do to be consistent is to first of all identify like how serious the issue is, because many times, like, why I say you should do that is because it's better to play the game in the long term than the short term. So let's assume you said studying and stuff, at least I assume. So if you're studying and stuff, if you have an exam maybe 2 weeks from today, like, that means the problem is kind of urgent. So you need to start studying right now today. But maybe if you have an exam like myself, the next exam I'm going to write is going to be like June, July. So even though yes, definitely I need to start studying from today, but like, I still have a little bit more time. So the reason why I'm saying is, if your exam is 2 weeks from today, you won't have the luxury to do the first step. But this first step is going to be very, very helpful. And the first step I always tell people is to just start very small. Literally start studying 5 minutes every day, 10 minutes every day, 15 minutes every day, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Forget 5 hours, 20 hours and all that. But you only have that luxury. You can only do that if, like I said, maybe like me myself now, my exam is by June, July. So like, I have that luxury to do that. But if you have an exam 2 weeks from today, you don't have that luxury. So you have to like 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you need to do it. So the other thing also is to kind of just, I don't necessarily want to say you should accept failure, but sometimes that's what I usually do. Maybe I've never studied throughout the semester, and the exam is usually like 6 days from today, and I'll just be wondering the type of magic I want to do. Sometimes I usually used to just tell myself that if you fail this exam, you deserve to. If you fail this exam, you'll come back next year and write it again. And even though it sucks because you're coming back next year, like, you deserve to write it again because you failed the exam, you did not prepare, you did not try, you did not read, you did not study. So you're going to fail and you write it again. So, but let's just assume that. So the first way to just like be consistent is to kind of identify your prime times. So I noticed myself that in the morning times, when I wake up in the morning, assuming I sleep properly. So I noticed that when I wake up in the morning, especially like that 5 a.m., 6 a.m., that period when body, like, it's almost as if I just have superpowers. That time, anything I do, like, it's almost as if I give it 120%. So maybe you might not necessarily be in the morning. Like, my roommate that stays here with me, I think his own is just in the night. The guy can literally stay up till like 2 a.m. and be studying. I can't, my brain will not just be able to function there. Sorry while I'm recording this site. I need to be dressed up. So basically, you identify that time, and if it's in the morning, like, you take advantage of it. So you plan your day in a way that you're not going to study in the morning. So I'm back from where I went to before, and so like I was saying, we're talking about studying. So pick a specific time, more preferable in the morning. So like me, for example, I was saying, I noticed that once I'm doing tasks in the morning, I'm usually a lot more efficient. Like, I just do it better, because to me, I just notice morning is like my prime time. It's not like it's only in the morning I can work, but when I do work in the morning, it's just better than during other parts of the day. So you have to do the same thing for yourself. Identify the best time for when it is. So the things that once you identify this time, what you now want to do is to make the task as specific as possible. The worst thing, or one of the worst things you can do, is to just make it vague and just be like, study, work out, read, learn. Like, if you make it just vague like that, there's no, like, you are a lot more likely to procrastinate. So don't just make it vague. What you want to do is to make it as specific as possible. So instead of just saying, oh, exam is coming and I know I'm supposed to study, so study. Instead, try to make it as specific as possible. So let's assume it's in the morning. So let's say every day from 6 o'clock to 6:30, or 7 o'clock, or 5 o'clock to 7 a.m. whenever. Let's assume the exam is in 2 weeks. So let's say every day from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm going to study physics question 1 to 25 for 2 hours or 30 minutes, and I'm going to do it from the past question. The year is going to be 2022, something like that. Like, you have to make it as detailed and as specific as possible, because when it's obvious, when you know what to do, you're a lot more likely to take action. There's this thing they usually call decision fatigue, and it's basically when you have like so many options that you don't know which one to take. And as weird as it sounds, it actually drains your energy. It actually makes you tired. It makes your mental capacity fatigue. It makes you tired. So you want to try your best to reduce that. So, like, you don't just want to always have to come every single day, because if you don't have a specific time, for example, and you're just studying randomly, that studying time could be any time, any day, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, for some lifestyles or for some people, that's actually very good. But sometimes it causes that decision fatigue, because you're also prone to procrastination again, because you're like, oh, I know I should be studying right now, but I just came back from school, or I just woke up, or whatever bullshit excuse, I just ate, or I haven't eaten, or I'll do it later. Like, you're a lot less likely to do it than if you just actually have a specific time dedicated to it. So another one again I'll tell you to do is to do the most important stuff, rather than just trying to study everything, especially if the exam is very close. You want to try to study things that are going to be very relevant, things that are most likely to come out. And one of the best places is usually past questions. I don't know how your own education system works, but at least here in Nigeria, usually the past question from the previous year, the questions are going to be kind of similar. They're usually going to be maybe like 70% similar and 30% different. Maybe they change the variables, or the way they present the question is a little different, but the whole concept, the whole topic and everything is usually the same. So you want to go to, one thing I usually tell my younger brother is about to write all these like exams to get into university and stuff, is like, the simplest way to pass that exam is to just go to the last 10 years of this exam and just like answer every single past question, last 10 years past question, from this 2024, so from literally 2014 till, or 2013 till 2023, just answer all of them, and just answer them like each year, answer it like 5 times, and mark yourself, grade it, find the correct answer and stuff, and do it like that. Like, when you write the exam, the chance of you passing is very, very high, because it's almost like you have seen all the questions before. You have basically seen it before. And most of these guys that sit here in Nigeria, they don't usually set fresh questions many times. Just like I said, it's usually 70% the same. We just tweak it a little bit, change it a little bit, and all that. But very many times it's very, very similar. So rather than trying to just study the whole of physics, I don't know whatever thing you're doing, rather than trying to study the whole of physics or chemistry or maths or whatever, try to just find that important part that is most likely to come out and focus your attention on it. There's the 80-20 rule, I think that's what you call it. 20% of the things you do bring 80% of the results, and the remaining 80% of things you do only bring 20% of the results. So you want to focus on those 20% of things that bring 80% of the results. Another thing you can do again to be consistent, this one is going to be kind of hard, and even me myself, I've personally not really made progress in it, but another thing you can do is to just study with people, or do the task with people and stuff. Like, have somebody hold you accountable, and I guess that's what I'm doing with this video. Have like somebody in real life, because this is just a video. As much as we like to be friends and everything, this is actually just a video. So like, I can't come to your house, I can't come to your room and say, hey, let's go and study. So if you can find somebody in real life, if you can find like a friend that is serious, or your brother or something like that, somebody that's actually serious, that actually wants to make progress just as much as you do, like, it's usually very, very powerful. 2 heads are always better than one. It's just, there's this story I told. Another thing again I'll do is I'll link maybe a few videos that I've made personally. I've made some videos in the past talking about how to be consistent and everything. So I'll link all of them, all the ones I've made, so hopefully they can help you out, and even maybe from other creators as well. So hopefully they can help you out. But if you just have somebody that is holding you accountable, you're a lot more likely to show up. Just like the 5 a.m. study session I was talking about now. If it's just with you by yourself, like, of course, if you are disciplined and everything, like, definitely you can show up. But imagine you had a friend that was doing that with you. Imagine you had like maybe 4 of your friends, and every single morning, every single 5 a.m. all of you wake up together and go and study physics or whatever. Imagine how, like, first of all, how fun it would be, and how much more consistent you're going to be, like how much more likely you are to show up when it's just you by yourself. Of course, you by yourself 100% you can still do it, and you should still do it. But if you can find people, it just makes the whole process easier. And like I said before, it might be hard to find people because many people, and they're usually not serious, or they're just not on the same page with you and stuff. So it's a little harder. But if you can find somebody, like, going to make your life easier. So another one you can do again to be consistent is a video I also made too, but it probably has not come out yet. But it's to kind of, there's this outwork everybody by being bored. And even though it sounds weird and somehow, let me try to explain it. So let's assume I lock you in a room, and when I lock you in a room, I leave you with just a phone. So let's assume I lock you in this room. So this is my room, I lock you here, and I remove everything inside this room. I get rid of every single thing, and this room is completely empty. There's nothing for you to interact with, and I only leave you with this phone and this book. And let's assume this phone is working properly. Let's assume the screen is not broken and stuff. Let's assume the phone works properly. Sorry. By the way, this is actually a nice book. You should read this book. So I leave you with this phone and this book, and this room is empty. So there's nothing you can do. You're literally bored out of your mind. But I leave you with this phone and this book. You are 9 out of 10 times, even 10 out of 10 times, going to choose using this phone versus reading this book. It's just like, because this phone is just more fun. But let's assume the same experiment again, and I remove this phone from the equation. So now you just have this book. You can either read this book or basically just sit around and do nothing. You are a lot more likely to read this book. 9 out of 10 times you're going to read this book. No matter how boring this book is, you are going to 9 out of 10 times read this book, probably from the beginning till the very end, than to just sit around and do nothing. And the whole reason, or the whole concept, is like, when the mind is always looking for something to do, something stimulating and all that. And they usually talk about dopamine and everything. It's not necessarily like a bad thing. It's just that nowadays, it's like, from always being on your phone and always eating junk food and always being stimulated and stuff, it's like you're overloading your brain with it. But the brain just is looking for stimulation, it's looking for like fun, looking for activity and stuff. So the brain is always going to just default into the thing that is more fun than the other ones. And just like the example, this phone definitely is a lot more fun than this book, so your brain is going to default into it. But if this phone is not part of the equation, this book is a lot more fun than just sitting around and doing nothing. So your brain is going to default into reading this book. So the whole concept is like, you kind of, I don't necessarily, this one too is kind of hard, but you kind of starve yourself of all this cheap dopamine. So they're spending all day on your phone or social media or playing games or whatever, and you basically just make yourself bored. When you are very, very bored, like, the hard work is going to feel fun, because you prefer to do your homework than to just sit around all day and do nothing. Imagine for an entire week, maybe like for 1 week straight. If you really want to test this experiment, it's not really possible, but just try to get rid of your phone. Get rid of your phone for like an entire week. You will just notice yourself that you will just start doing weird activities that normally you usually will not do, because these things now are just a lot more fun than just sitting around and doing nothing. So I don't know how, maybe if you can implement this, or if this will help you at all, but just try to find a way to starve yourself of all these cheap dopamine, to starve yourself of all this stimulation and stuff, and try to just be bored. Like, when you are bored, your work is now going to be a lot more fun than just being bored, so automatically you work more than waste time. But the main thing there is removing your phone out of the equation. So I don't know how you're going to do that, but if hopefully it helps you out. The last one of being consistent is to just, or the last two, I'll give two. So the second to the last one is to basically just fix your mental health. So fix your mental health, because to some degree, yes, you can be consistent, whether you have depression or anxiety or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can still show up, do the work and stuff. But imagine two people, somebody that has depression, anxiety, sadness, he's miserable, he hates his life and everything. And this other person that's just a normal person, this guy is a lot more likely to be consistent and all that than this guy that is, depressed and everything. So it's like, just try to put your head in place. Like, sometimes you can't even really blame yourself. So for the longest time, this is embarrassing to say, by the way, but even if you go to this channel, so just go to a few videos back, put it all out. I was addicted to porn. I couldn't just stop jacking off. I found it hard to stop. But one day I just thought to myself, like, can you really, even though, like, yes, obviously you shouldn't fap and all that, very, very bad for you. I'm not trying to justify it by any means. But on one hand, I just thought, like, can you really blame yourself? Like, when your default state of being is like, you wake up every day, you hate your life, you're bitchless, you're broke, all your goals and since you're trying, you're just failing in school like a motherfucker, basically have no friends, your family, you're always like getting into fights or whatever, your parents are annoying. Like, can you not really blame yourself for watching the porn? Because when you watch the porn, that's almost like where you find comfort. And I noticed for myself, it was a lot more for like women and stuff. And for me especially, I noticed that it was kind of mostly because I didn't have women, because I had this stupid mentality in my head that I'm just not good enough for any girl to like me. But that was basically what I had in my head. So like, when you have that type of mind state, is it now any surprise that you just default into watching porn? Is it any surprise that you're addicted to porn? Like, if you won't see somebody like that and the person is not addicted, that person should actually be proud of himself. Like, I'm actually a rare breed. So the same thing is like, this is just like my own porn story and stuff, which hopefully, like, thank God I'm climbing out of that dark place now. But just for other things, it might not necessarily be porn. Like, if you're just struggling with depression and anxiety, and like, is it any surprise why you spend all day on your phone? You hate your life a lot, that the only place you can find comfort, and enjoyment and stimulation and all that is from like your phone, scrolling on social media and everything. So like, is it any surprise why you just are addicted to your phone? So the cure for this one, at least one way, is not necessarily attacking the problem itself. It's instead of saying the inconsistency and the spending all day on your phone and all that as the problem, you see them more as the symptom to the real problem. The real problem is like your mental health, or basically just hitting your state of life. Like, when you hit your state of life, you default into the thing that looks the most fun. So another thing I'll quickly tell you again, another experiment, is there was this rat experiment they did. Is what I'm going to say, I'm just paraphrasing it, so it's not 100% correct. But the whole idea was like, they took a rat, put it in a cage by itself, all alone, dark, alone, and the only thing in that cage was like some addictive substance like cocaine or something crazy like that. So they left this rat alone there with the cocaine in this empty, dark, lonely cage. And guess what the rat did? The rat overdosed on the cocaine till it died. It literally went there till it passed away. So I don't know, I think it's not took another rat again, then put it in another cage, and still they put that same cocaine again, still this rat and this cocaine. But instead of just the rat and the cocaine this time, they added so many other things. So they named this one Rat Park, like the second cage. There were many toys, many places, many other rats, like many things these rats could interact with. So the cocaine was there. I think the rats didn't go too close to the cocaine, and the few rats that did go to the cocaine, they did this time, they did not just put that one rat, they put like many others. So the few of them that did go there, they didn't overdose, they just sipped it a little bit and left. So the whole idea is like, if your life is dark, musty, and the only thing that looks sweet, the only thing that looks fun, the only thing that looks interesting is like the cocaine, or in your case it could be porn, it could be watching YouTube videos all day, it could be video games, it could be smoking weed, it could be drinking, it could be eating junk food. Like, you're a lot more likely to default into that. Like, you're a lot more likely to overdose on it till you die, literally, or till, like, you're just a lot more likely to abuse it and to be addicted to it. But on the other hand, if you have many other options, instead of like that same junk food could be there, that same social media could be there, that same porn or weed or whatever could be there. But when you have all this other stuff that is making your life like colorful, you're a lot less likely to default to this thing. So the point of this one is not something you can just do like just a quick tip and stuff. It's something I'm mostly doing continuously to this day. Is to just try to make your life more interesting, make your life less like a cage and more like your own version of Rat Park, whatever that looks like for you. And still on that, another thing again is to just put yourself in places that make you more consistent. Like for example, now if I'm studying here at home by myself, it's a lot, like it's just going to be hard for me to sit down and study. I'm saying study as if I study seriously, like I said earlier, I slack off a lot. But if I'm studying here at home, it's a lot harder for me to just study or be serious, because first of all, this is my room. I sit down here and chill. Everybody's like I can basically not just sit down here and just do work. Like if I'm doing work, somebody will barge in, come and ask me to do something. Even as I've been recording this video now, I've had to record this video almost 5 different times because people are just barging in. Like it's just very hard to stay focused. But if you go to somewhere like the library, for example, first of all, all these stupid stimulation and distractions, they are no longer there. And secondly, like the environment is just, everybody there is studying. The library, at least 90% of people there are studying. 90% of people there are working, whatever they work, whether they are reading a book or they are typing something on their laptop, or they are just, they are basically being productive. So it's hard for you to just go there and start watching Netflix or scrolling on your phone or playing video games and stuff. Like you are a lot more likely to study because the environment just promotes that. So try to find or go to more environments that encourage the thing you want to do and discourage the thing you don't want to do. Then the last one is not really a trick. It's like to just be disciplined. Like just have some balls. This one is probably the hardest one of them all. To some degree, there's no real secret sauce. The only way to be consistent, or the only way to study and stop using your phone, like you asked me, is to study and stop using your phone. There's no real secret sauce or secret weapon or whatever. It's to just do it. Like as much as I'm giving you all these tips and stuff, and they hopefully help, but at the end of the day, that's just it. And another thing again is like the urge to be lazy, or the Jeffrey part of you, the lazy part of you, doesn't really go away. It's just stays there forever. Because I used to think before that as you level up and reach a certain level, you stop feeling lazy, you stop feeling like procrastinating, you're just always going to be productive. Like you see somebody like David Goggins now, you might think somebody like David Goggins doesn't procrastinate, like wow, this guy is probably very, very consistent, and he wakes up every day and he goes for all this, does all these hard things. You might think that that's how he is every single day. Well, there's this interview I watched, him and Andrew Huberman did. Go and watch it. He did it earlier this year, around January this year. You notice that, at least from what he said there, he still has those urges are still there, those feelings to just procrastinate. He doesn't always feel like doing the work. He doesn't want to always go for a run. He doesn't want to do the push-ups or the pull-ups or whatever stuff he does. He doesn't want to do all these things. It's the urge for him to just stay at home and basically be lazy and stuff is there. Imagine, as advanced as David Goggins is, he still has that urge. The only difference between him and you is that he chooses not to listen to that voice. He chooses not to indulge in that voice. While obviously he always chooses that voice and indulge in it. So that's just another thing. Like it doesn't matter how many tricks or whatever. Like at the end of the day, that voice is never really going to go away. So you just have to deal with it. Like you just have to have some balls and just tell yourself that I'm supposed to study. I am going to study no matter how I feel. Even though I don't feel like studying, or I feel like using my phone, I feel like wasting time doing all these things, I am still going to do the right thing. Like that's how I feel. So it's like that's basically, that voice never really goes away. It's just that you stop listening to that voice less. So that's the last one. Like just be disciplined. I literally just do it. Just do it. Just do the fucking work at the end of the day. So anyways, hopefully Mohammed, this video helps you out. Like I said before, I'm not a professional. I'm still figuring shit out. I'm just like, I'm young. I showed you my habit tracker earlier in the video. Like, I'm not very consistent. So, and I'm also trying to be more consistent and stuff. So all the advice I give you also applies to me myself. I'm trying my best. But I want to start trying my best to apply all this stuff to my life as well, rather than just telling you, oh, this is how to be consistent, and yet me that's telling you to be consistent. I'm still not consistent. So, but at the end of the day, we're all going to make it. Like we just have to put in the work. We just have to grind. Another thing again is to another last thing I'll just leave you with is to just remember that it's also like a lifelong skill. Consistency and being disciplined and everything is a lifelong skill. The more you choose to be consistent and be disciplined and do the right things, the more that skill levels up. And the reason why, like I said, I brought up David Goggins. The reason why him is able to do the push-ups or whatever he does is because David Goggins is almost 50 years old, by the way, just so you know. Imagine how crazy that is. And if you're watching this video, I assume we're around the same age. So I'm 20 years old. I assume you're a little younger or a little older than me, or the same age as me. So imagine that David Goggins is almost 50 years old and I'm just 20. So he's literally 30 years ahead of you. And imagine 30 years now he has been leveling up this discipline skill, this consistency skill, this skill of, having the feeling of wanting to give up or wanting to be lazy and choosing not to listen to it. He has basically been leveling it up. And now that he's almost 50, it's not like as if he's a god, as if he has a superpower and stuff. So you just realize that you're also early in the process. Like, the older you grow and the more you do disciplined things and stuff, the more like disciplined you become, the more that skill levels up. So basically, level up this. You can also realize that anytime you do the discipline, anytime you do the hard work, the discipline goes up. So you get like +2 points. Maybe you're supposed to study and you choose to go and study instead of scrolling on your phone, +2. You're supposed to make your bed and you choose to make your bed instead of just leaving it scattered, +1.5. You're supposed to sleep by 9 p.m. and you choose to sleep by 9 p.m. instead of still to like 2 a.m. just scrolling or just doing something random, +3 points. Like, the more you do all those stuff, the more this thing increases, and the more the like inconsistency part of it decreases, and vice versa too. The more inconsistent you are, you're supposed to study but you choose not to study, this part to increases, +2 points. Like, so it's also just a lifelong skill. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight. Like, it could take you some time, but hopefully all the tips I gave you, hopefully they help you out. Like, there are a million other videos on YouTube that the people that are there are a lot more professional and give better advice, so you can watch all those as well. And like I said before, I've made a few videos in the past, so I'll link all of them in the description if that will help you out as well. But thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you found value. I'll see you in the next one.